The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
I'm sitting here going, why isn't he talking? Oh, we're not on the screen. And it's the Magic Mike Show. Mm-hmm. Well, the good news is, the podcast listeners, I can just edit that out, and you'll have no idea that there was 10 seconds or so of just dead, silent air throughout.
Yeah, we're Magic just talking into nothing. I'm just waiting to be popped up. I could have pulled this up. I thought you were going to do it, man.
Yeah. No, listen. You would have.
Magic Mike Show. Because... Huzzah!
Hey, you escaped Las Vegas. Huzzah!
I did. It was the Santa Barbara airport closed on Monday. Just straight up closed on me. So I was stuck in Vegas an extra day. Now I'm heading back there. Tomorrow, Saturday, something like that. And so 1 or 2 more days, I'll be right back in Vegas for Super Bowl weekend, and then heading back. Hopefully, getting back on Monday. We'll see what happens. I don't think we're gonna get any rain, so it should be Monday.
No, yeah, thankfully, I think all the rain is done. For us here in Los Angeles, it stopped, I think, middle of the night last night, maybe early this morning. I don't know about you in Santa Barbara, but it's been, like, people's stuff is getting washed away. Roads are getting all washed out. It's crazy out here.
Yeah, I came back, and my wife had sandbags in front of our garage. I was like, whoa, sandbags.
Wow,
you really went for it here. I like it.
Well, I see you moved everything with you from Florida, so you just brought those with you.
Yeah.
I know you need those in Florida, but...
We bring the weather. What can I say? You don't want us to move to your town. There will be a natural disaster occurring in the next 12 months if that happens.
Well, luckily there's hopefully not going to be a natural disaster at Tampa Bay this weekend. It's a very tricky sequence here. The late pick 5 at Tampa Bay Downs. I'm taking a shot or two here and there, but you're playing a short ticket. It's hard to have a really strong opinion in all 5 of these races. I think maybe one race I have a strong opinion, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting because I obviously I was single, so I believe that is a pretty strong opinion, but it's a pretty popular strong opinion, so I'm not really going to tip my cap to myself on that one. I ran out of horses to use in more races than I did, got really excited about one specific horse. So I struggled in a couple spots. I mean, even in the Tampa Bay Derby, I'm like, I really only have interest in 3 of these horses. In the last race, it was really 1, maybe 2. I could push for 3, but it was tough. Same thing happened really in the first race where I'm like, I don't like anyone else except for these 2 horses. So that made it very, very easy to shorten the ticket down. Then it was the decision of, okay, how do we structure this to try and make it profitable? And we're gonna hit the little press button a little bit. Go for a $2 ticket, cost $72 instead of a traditional 50 center. Wow, now you muted yourself. You're just off to a hot start here before we even get to the point where...
what is going on with me today? I was unbuttoned. It's just, I'm a complete mess right now. Yeah. Let's just get into it. Tampa Bay Downs, late pick 5, Saturday, February 10th. Riders up! Robin in the chat says, Life Talk's got to be your single. Wrong pick 5. That's the early pick 5. Suncoast Stakes Kentucky Oaks Prep race is race 5 on the card. We've got races 7 through 11. We're going to start with race 7 at Tampa Bay Downs, the first leg of this late pick 5. It's the Minaret Stakes for 9 older fillies and mares sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. Where'd you go on top, buddy?
Well, I'll tell you where I didn't go on top. The 2 Chi-Town Lady. You mentioned you're against a horse later. I'm against this one pretty aggressively. Not a big fan of Chi-Town Lady. People remember the win in the test. That race absolutely collapsed. And then comes back and repeats the buyer for running 6th in the Breeders' Cup race. It's like, yeah, no, don't trust you at all. And don't trust Chi-Town Lady in this spot at all. I'm going to put the 3-horse Unifying on top here for Riley Mott, who is silently, I guess not that silently, really, gotten off to a wonderful start to his career here. It's 13% so far this year, but gotten some big prices home and some winners. This horse is really improving through that summer section of 2023. Capped that with a win in a stakes race at Ellis Park. Debuted at Gulfstream in the Rampart, and I thought ran okay. Didn't get the best of trips. That was also at a mile. We're cutting back to 6 furlongs. I think a better distance here for Unifying. Notice that Irad Ortiz took them out that day. I think that's a pretty good sign when Irad's willing to get on top of one of these horses. And now we've got Alvarado picking up the mount. Mary Quite Contrary won that race. I think with a better trip, Unifying would have been much closer. Now we're cutting back, like I said, to that 6 furlong distance, which is what Unifying really wants to do. Has tactical speed, but doesn't need the lead, which I think is an awfully big positive in this spot as well. And like the price, I'm surprised we're getting 4-1 because of that ridiculous 5-2 on Chi-Town Lady.
There's no way Chi-Town Lady is the favorite when they go off, right? Like she should not be the favorite. There's one race you point to that you mentioned.
I mean, she got bet in her last 2-2, though. This is Wesley Ward in a sprint race. Like, she got bet in the Keeneland race. It ended up running third, but it was sub 2-1. Was bet in her last race, was sub 2-1. Yeah, the only race that wins this is the one that you point to, the test. But that test was so aided by everyone else sucking. If I remember correctly, it was like a 6-horse field, something like that. It was 7-horse field. 6 of them were speed, and she was the closer. And it played out exactly like you'd expect. 6 of them went, and one of them was still running, even a lick at the end, and that was Chi-Town Lady. So, yeah, I'm not backing her 5-2 here. No thanks. Hard pass.
So I went 3 deep here. At the last second, I added a one because I could afford to do it. But the top 2 for me are the 2 you're using. I didn't have Unifying second, but in first, but at one point I did. I also really like the other one, number 4, Lady Rattler at 9-2. This horse has got the speed to be in it from the start, but she's not a need the lead type, which you've got to like in a spot like this where there's the pace could be coming from the 1, it could come from the 7, it could come from the 8. A lot of potential speed. The 4 I think is able to sit off. She won the Grade 3 Dogwood at Churchill Downs, going 7 furlongs using that stalk and pounce tactic. But then she won at Pimlico, going 6 furlongs in the $50,000 stakes, going gate to wire. So if nobody wants the lead, Jose Ortiz picking up the mount for the first time for a trainer that wins 22% locally in the last year, that's a good sign. And just like with the 3, the 4 is also making her first start at age 4. And any improvement off of the best effort from either the 3 or the 4 in their 4-year-old debut makes them really the horse to beat here.
Yeah, it would make either of them very, very tough. And I like it when Jose picks up a mount for a barn that's rather small. Michael Campbell only sent out 49 horses so far, or so last year, ended up winning 22% of those, only sent out 8 so far in this meet. So not someone who sends out a ton of horses, but when they do, they run pretty well. This horse was successful in the Grade 3 Dogwood at Churchill Downs. I think that's significant because you want to see a trainer like this be able to win graded stakes if you're going to back a horse who is in one of these. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, if this horse improves at 4, gonna be really, really dangerous here in a race where I don't love anyone. Like, after the 3 and the 4, I was looking at hey, can I make a case for the 6 switching over to the Safi barn? Can I make a case for the 8 here? Like, I was going away from the 1 and the 2 and just I decided I was just going to go 2 deep here because I was going to play a $2 ticket. If I extended it out, the 7 and the 8 were the other 2 I would have used.
I'm throwing the 6 on as my last one, and it's because it's first time Safi, and he's winning 29% at Tampa Bay Downs right now. Meneses has moved over here since the championship meet's going on at Gulfstream. He's doing a lot of his running over at Tampa right now. Really, that's it. I mean, there's a couple races. She also is coming from off the pace. I was trying to find a horse coming from off the pace that I was going to try and play because the 4 tends to be more forwardly placed. The 3 is really good at 6 furlongs, but I also think the 6 has got a nice, closing kick. She could come from several lengths off and get the job done. It is a step up in class compared to what she's been facing mostly, but it's not a huge step up in class. So again, that small step up and first time for Safi, 15-1, why not? I'll put Bazinga C on there.
Yeah, and if you scratch out the 2 Parks races, Bazinga C wouldn't be 15-1 in this race. If you take those 2 out, that horse is probably 6-1, 7-1, somewhere in that range. So I think the 6 makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I mean, I was 3, 4, 6, 8. So don't hate the pick of the 6 here if you're using someone else. But yeah, this was one of those races where I'm I like the 3 and the 4, and outside of that, I'm really trying to stretch to make a case for anybody, and I didn't feel like doing that in this spot.
I kind of wanted to use the 1, but not at 3-1. When I think that she could get stuck inside of a pace duel, you would assume that she's going to get sent because she's been doing all of her running on the front end. It's also why I left the 7 off. Is a similar situation. I think this horse is a need the lead type, and if she gets the lead, she could be dangerous, but I don't think she's fast enough to just get an easy lead. You got to go back to her win at Gulfstream Park on my birthday last year, June 16th, in a claiming race, and she got out to a huge early lead, but that was also non-championship meet Gulfstream Park. All of her championship meet Gulfstream Park races do not stack up to what effort she needs here.
Yeah, I mean, you're just expecting a huge improvement second time out as a 4-year-old. That's the reason you're playing the 7, is that like we're going to go back to our best race and we're going to improve 10% off it. And if that's the case, then yeah, I could see it possible. It's 7 off the pace is my issue. I don't see the 7 being off the pace too much there. And as for the 1, I would rather take the 8, which is the other O'Connell, Paloma. Here, who, if you can see, has been able to pass horses. Specifically, last time out was able to pass horses. Now we're getting debut as a 5-year-old. You need to improve. If you go back to those Gulfstream races with Larry Bates, this horse was good enough to be able to compete with this level. Faced Olivia Darling back in the day, but yeah, to me, this is mainly a 2-horse race. I think it's the 3 and the 4, and I'm not going all that crazy afterward.
Well, we have pretty solid agreement in all, 4 of the 5 legs, but this leg, the second leg, is where we're going to really diverge. Race 8 is the second leg. It's the Pelican Stakes. You've got 8 older males going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Nakatomi, the 9-5 favorite. I'm trying to play against him here, but you're using him.
I am using him. I've got him. I have him as a top pick here. Look, this is just the best horse in this race. Like I went round and round trying to beat this horse and be like, well, okay, can I make a case for Hurricane J on the rail? And I tried to do my best because I've liked this horse in the past, and I couldn't get to it. And then you look at, okay, how's this going to set up from a pace perspective? Well, the 3 is going to go, the 4 is going to go, the 5 is going to go, the 7 has speed. The 2 is just going to be able to sit behind a wall of horses and pounce. And it just makes you feel like the perfect trip here is coming for Nakatomi. I would love to beat Nakatomi. I just don't see this as a spot where you can take a shot against.
His last 2 races, you'd be like, oh yeah, well really 3 if you go back to when he won at Saratoga in the slop. It's like, yeah, those races would all win this. Missed to hoist the gold by 3/4 of a length at Keeneland in a Grade 2 race, and hoist the gold. Went to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, actually finished behind Nakatomi in that spot, but then won the Cigar Mile, and then actually ran a pretty credible 4th in the Pegasus World Cup. And then last time out for Nakatomi, he was 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Sprint behind Elite Power Gun, easily the best 2 in that division. Speedboat Beach finished 4th. Speedboat Beach came back and dominated the Malibu. So he's run well with good company. My problem is, if you look back in the Maryland Sprint, I'm like, he should have been a lot better in that spot. He lost a freaking Prevalence. Before that, the Commonwealth, he was horrible. Before that, didn't do all that well in the Tom Fool. Like, he shows up when it's allowance time, but when it's stakes time, he doesn't show up. And it's just, I've been burned by him too many times here to want to play him here at 9-5. I ended up going with Sibelius, your defending champion, to win this race for the 2nd straight year. Should sit, I think, a stalking outside trip, power home in the stretch like we saw him do last year. He doesn't need the lead, which is great. Winner in 3 of his last 4, including... I was looking at my list for last one. But just like last year with Sibelius, he won the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector, then came here, used it as a prep, and then went to the Group 1 Golden Shaheen. That's exactly the plan here with Sibelius again. I don't really think Nakatomi is strong enough to knock him down. The only thing that I think worries me with Sibelius a little bit, and why I didn't single him, is on the off chance he just gets stuck into a pace duel, isn't able to relax for whatever reason. That could be his undoing, because like we both are saying, there is a bunch of pace in here. But as long as he can just settle off a little bit, I think he's got a strong chance to repeat.
Yeah, and he was able to do that. I mean, what he did in the Pelican last year, I thought was really impressive, because they went 21-2, 43-4, and he was on the lead and able to win that race in a field of 10. A field not quite as good as this one. I'm more worried about, you get the Phoenix trip where he was pressing 21-3, 44-4, ended up running 6 with Nakatomi beating him. We'll see if he's gotten better here at the age of 6, not this time out of pulpit. Like, this is one of those horses that's just really well bred and should just love sprinting, and has in his career. I mean, 4 for 12 at the distance with $1.4 million in earnings. Not too bad. A lot of that obviously came in the Golden Shaheen. I didn't use Sibelius. I'm worried about the pace duel. I'm worried about where he's going to be sitting. I'm worried about the price. Like, I realize if I'm using Nakatomi, I don't want to use Sibelius as well, especially since I'm only going 2 deep here, and use the 2 favorites to try and get through. I went to the 4 Super Ocho instead. We've seen Sanchez horses run very, very well coming over from Chile, and this is one of those that looked awesome on debut at Mountaineer, ironically. Not sure why we debuted at Mountaineer, but then just jump right in. Yeah, like just totally random. Then just jumps right into Stakes Company. Doesn't do that great, then kind of gets a reboot. And since the race in the Golden Shaheen, where this horse ran not great again, 11th in that race where Sibelius won, coming back to the U.S., wins at Delta, runs well at Fairgrounds, wins at Oaklawn. It just feels like this horse kind of figured something out this year, which is ironic again, because it's a 6-year-old. But He likes to be fast. He likes to be on the lead. He likes to get out there early. I think this is your best of the speed horses. And so I want to take the speed of the speed, and then I'll take the horse that I think is going to be able to come from off it. So I'm just 2-4 here.
If I went 3 deep, Super Roach would be the next one on. He's a funny little horse, right? He's very fast, but then he's just a funny horse. But Rob's with you. He went 2-4-6 here. My other horse, and I'm actually going to go with where Doc's going. I like the 8 a little bit. If Sibelius loses, it's because there's a pace meltdown and he isn't able to sustain it. And Nakatomi's going to come running, but I like Caramel Chip, who's going to be 20 times the price of Nakatomi. I think is just as likely to get up there for the win as Nakatomi, because Nakatomi doesn't really like to win all that much. This is the horse that was winner in 3 of his last 4, including last out. He reeled in a loose leader to win by 3 lengths. That loose leader finished second, 4 lengths ahead of 3rd place. So very widespread out. But the fact that he was able to catch that horse, pull him in, and clear out for the big victory was impressive to me. And you note that Irad rode him 4 of his last 5 starts. Irad's going to stay at Gulfstream Park this weekend. Jose picks up the mount. They have the same agent. Jose picks up a lot of the Irad mounts on this card at Tampa Bay Downs. So I went with the 8 Caramel Chip, just thinking the one way Sibelius loses is there's a pace meltdown.
Yeah, so we're not that far off. I was 2-4-7-8 here. So the 2 horses that you liked, I would have used if I had gone 4 deep in this spot, played a 50-cent ticket. The one thing I got to say, just about your slander on Nakatomi here, you're like, okay, Caramel Chip likes to win more than Nakatomi. If Nakatomi was running in $10,000 allowances, I think he'd have a couple more wins. Okay, he probably would have won those.
He might.
Come on. You send Nakatomi to like bottom level fairgrounds allowances. I think he'd be doing okay too. But I agree with this statement that look, Caramel Chip is going to be rolling from off the pace. My biggest issue is I realize every now and then, you can go back to the Gulfstream race back in 23 when he runs a number that is equivalent to what you're going to need to win this on fast tracks. His last 2 races, which would put him in play, they're both over sloppy tracks. And he has been very good over a muddy track or off track. He's 3 for 6 in his career. He's got a massive Tomlinson rating of 428. I'm worried a little bit that his numbers are inflated in those last 2 simply because they were muddy tracks.
That's fair. Yeah, and that wasn't part of concern. And really, those 3 of those last 4 races, those were all wins. They were all in the slop. So he's going to have to try and take a step forward. But hey, maybe I'll get lucky and the torrential rainstorms we got in LA are going to hit Oldsmar, Florida.
Well, it is Super Nino or something. So it is supposed to be more damp in southern Florida as well. Well, we get this rain out here in California.
I appreciate you saying damp and not moist. 3rd leg of the Tampa Bay Downs, late pick 5, Saturday, February 10th, race 9 on the turf for 10 3-year-old maiden fillies, routing a mile and a 16th. Where'd you go on top, buddy?
I'm gonna go the first time starter here, and we will get to that in a second. I'm interested if you use the 1 or not, so we'll talk about the 1 a little bit later. But my top pick here, Bell of Rights, the 5 horse for Shug McGahee. This is a daughter of Constitution out of a more than ready mare, so should absolutely love to run on the turf here. We always talk about debuting distances. Bell of Rights, like Shug McGahee, first starters, 10%. First starters over a mile, 16%. So much better when they're going a little bit longer here. Jose Ortiz decides to pick up the mounts. I'm going to go with Bella Wrights, who's just regally bred in this spot.
I went 3 deep. We agree on 2 of them, and this is one of them. Shug only 11% in the last year with first out, but he's also 41% in the last year at Tampa. It's been fun to play him, especially on the turf at Tampa lately. So, yeah, I agree with you on the 5, Bell of Rights. The other one I use that we agree on is the number 9, oversubscribed, Chad Brown, first-time starter on the Tampa Bay turf. Tyler Gaffalione hops aboard. Chad's winning 29% at Tampa, 21% with Tyler Gaffalione aboard in the last year. First-time starter, we've seen Chad Brown do this quite often, where he brings maybe not his absolute A squad over to Tampa, although last year, like a couple years, he was doing because he hated Gulfstream's turf course, but he sends them over here, they get the win, and kind of build that confidence up and see where they're going to fit if Monmouth or Saratoga, where they go stakes-wise. But number 9 oversubscribed was actually my top pick here.
Yeah, it's my other must-use second pick here for me. And this Tyler Gaffleon gets aboard. He's ridden 66 times for Chad Brown the last 2 years. They're clicking off at 20%. It's a Kalleward horse. Again, another phenomenally bred horse. Too darn hot, who's son of DeBowie, and then Cape Cross on the bottom side. So she should absolutely love the turf every step of the way here. Gates, the post position's a little questionable. We'll see if she has some speed, but you do have enough bullets in there to think that she's not going to be too far back here. This is the Brown, I think, that has the shot at winning here. So I was 5'9", and then I went to the 8 here, Gossiper, and this is a Bill Mott horse, English daughter of English Channel. Alvarado gets them out here. You look at that last race. I watched it again on the replay, and I just felt like her drawing the one post was the worst possible thing. You just watch how she got out of the gate. She didn't like it at all. She went toward the back of the pack. I think it just put her behind the 8 ball. We talk a lot about how when you have first-time starters in the one post, it's incredibly difficult because you're naturally going to break in. You got the rail there. Horses, you're outside. You're generally just going to fade back instead of get that like shootout break, and you're not going to be able to get any type of position. To me, that's exactly what happened here to Gossiper. Just never able to get any real position. Was able to do a little bit of running late in what was a okay race. I think we're going to see a lot better second time out from Gossiper here.
I didn't use her, but I have her 4th in here. She is intriguing. She's got the breeding, and it's Mott's second time out, so you'd expect a big step forward. Didn't pull the trigger. I didn't love that she's 9-2. I know it's a step down from Gulfstream Park, but 9-2 after she was 12-1 on debut. Kind of went away from me here. I went all first-time starters because I really didn't see anything from anyone who's run, including the other Chad, that I wanted to use. I went with the number 3, Aquilina, 10-1. In the last year, Arnie Delacour is winning 17% at Tampa, 29% with Daniel Santino aboard. Breeding says the distance, the surface conditions should all be good for her here. So I'm going to use her. I like the post position as well. She's not going to be like the 9 where she's got to hustle out a little bit so she's not stuck super wide as they come off the chute there. But I went with the 3, Aquilina at 10-1.
Don't hate it. The horse definitely looks live from a workout perspective. Sold for $350,000. Daughter of Good Magic. Go Sapper on the bottom. Another one that should like it. And Blue Devil Racing Stable generally does pretty good with horses that they purchase at auction. So, not against it. Okay. So, who gets the lead? Like, who do you think is ahead in the first turn?
Man, I've been trying to figure that out. I have no idea. The 4?
I kind of. Yeah, I mean the 4 is definitely possible. I kind of wanted to make a case for the 7, Active, who's coming out of Gulfstream Park mile race where the horse was forwardly placed and has a turf sprint on the form, but I'm not sure that horse is going to actually make the lead. Like, is it a first-time starter that ends up on the lead? Is it the 10 from the outside that ends up on the lead? Like, because you want to, like, Tampa Bay's turf course, speed favoring is like an understatement. You want to be forwardly placed on this turf course. I have no clue who makes the lead in this race.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, so many of them are first-time starters, and then the ones that aren't first-time starters, most of them have just been kind of trash. If the 10 wasn't drawn all the way out in the 10, I think, especially with the Bug Boy board, you could definitely say that's the one that's going right to the lead, but might still do it.
Yeah.
Might very well still do it.
Should we talk about the 1 for a second here?
Yeah. Let's talk about the 1. So Stents and Statins, my goodness, what a name. For Chad Brown, it's the other one. I didn't use because she, in her debut at Saratoga with Flavian Pratt aboard, was 12-1 and didn't really run a lick. And I watched it back, and she was on the lead, on the rail to break, but she didn't show anything. And now she comes back. She gets Cheminade, who's a jockey I like, but isn't an Ortiz, a Gaffleon, nothing like that. Why is she 4-1 here? Is it literally just, is it the name Chad Brown?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Chad Brown aspect of it. The 12-1 jumped out at me too. How often is Brown Pratt, first time starter, 12-1 at Saratoga? Generally, you're going to get bet at least a little bit. In that case, horse did not get bet at all. Broke from the rail, clearly struggled with it. Now we're getting back to the rail again today with a horse that just hasn't shown any real speed in the mornings and hasn't shown any speed on the track and is going to be like on the inside of that first bend that they do with the 1 16th, like just a lot to not like with the 1 here. And so I felt like the Gaffleon tip there again. I don't dislike Shaman at all. It's just the fact that Brown's only used him twice in the last 2 years. It tells you he's never going to be the first call. And so if you see him with another one in here, Gaffleon gets that call for Kalleward. It feels like there's a real discrepancy between the 9 and the 1 everywhere except for the odds board.
Also, if you look back at that race at Saratoga, Weigh the Risk was another Chad Brown in there. She was a 3-5 favorite, and she got the win. She hasn't raced since then, but the other 8 horses in that race None of them have won on turf since then. A couple of them broke their maidens but had to go to dirt to do it. None of the turf horses in there have won on turf. So also, for a Saratoga turf race, that's not a great sign, but
Maybe a couple low.
Race 10 is the penultimate leg of the Late Pick 5 at Tampa Bay Downs, Saturday, February 10th. It's also the headlining event, the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis Stakes. We got a full field of 12 3-year-olds going to going a mile and a 16th, on the dirt here. Kentucky Derby points on the board, and our boy in the fantasy league, Change of Command, is the 3-1 favorite. We're screwed, aren't we?
I mean, God, if he doesn't win this race, this thing is a mess, dude. Like, I went through this and I was like, I don't really want to pick Change of Command because it's the favorite, and Change of Command really should win this race. And we saw last time out in that allowance, he looked like he was going to be a lot better than he was in that race. Kind of got bored in the front. I know you were clamoring for blinkers. Guess what, buddy? They're on. So
we'll see if what I wanted was the right move, because if not, it's all on me, right? If the horse doesn't run well.
Now it's all on you, because they watched the Magic Mike show and they heard you say add blinkers, so they added blinkers. No one else was involved in this decision. Just Magic was involved.
I called Shug. I said, Shuggy Bear, here's what we're doing.
Let's go, baby. Look, I put Change of Command on top. This is interesting. We'll see if Change of Command can sit a little bit further off the pace, because there is quite a bit of speed in this spot. I do think the pace is going to be pretty hot, so I don't necessarily want to be right on the lead here. But that last race, if we can improve off it, it's going to be pretty tough to beat. I don't see a ton of other horses in here that really strike terror into you. For me, I'm going to go 3 deep, because I think there's only 3 horses that can win this race, and the other 2 are prices. So might as well take a couple shots here. No, not going to use Agate Road. What the heck are we doing here, Pletcher? Like, I get it, but what are we doing? I'm going to go with No More Time as my second pick here. Jose D'Angelo, not this time. Son of Not This Time. The Mucho Macho Man was disappointing. I like the fact that they swung from that race to this race. Didn't want to go up against Fierceness, although that was a bad decision, because everyone could have wanted to go up against Fierceness last weekend. But No More Time comes in here. The win at Gulfstream, the maiden breaking score, was a good win. Now we step forward. We have that Mucho Macho Man race under the belt. We step forward here, second off a layoff in the 3-year-old season. It's a 25% angle for Jose D'Angelo. Paco Lopez takes them out. 10-1. The price is right here. Should be able to sit off the pace and pounce. So I'll go with the 5 No More Time as my second horse in here. Did you put Change of Command on top?
I did put him on top, yeah. And I consider No More Time. They actually had entered him in the Holy Bull and scratched him out of it. Ironically, after watching it back, it's like maybe that would have been an easier race for that horse to win, the way things kind of played out there. Didn't have a great trip in the Mucho Macho Man, but I didn't like the way Otello came back out of that. I didn't like the way C Street came out of that. Loved the way First World War came out of that on turf, where he's now proven he's a better horse. So I get why you're using him. I did strongly consider.
We don't know for sure he's better on turf.
Well, he's won a graded stakes on turf, and he hasn't done it on dirt, so we've at least got that we know about.
To be fair, his turf effort's good enough to win against all the dirt horses.
That's true. That is very true.
Let's get back on dirt. Let's just jump back in there. Let's try it again.
I did have change. At first, I was like, I could single Change of Command. But, he hung pretty badly in that last race, where once he got on the lead, he just kind of waited for Cardinale to come back and almost beat him, give me a heart attack while watching it. But I like that he's, Gaffleone's picking up the mount now. Jose Ortiz wasn't going to have the mount anyways, because he would have been on Locked if Locked was in here. Unfortunately, he's not, so now Change of Command is your favorite. Next up for me, I went with the number 2 Tireless at 12-1. I didn't want a single Change of Command, and I kept looking through all these other horses going, God, who could actually realistically win this? And I go, yeah, to me, that makes sense. And I landed on the number 2 Tireless, kind of the other Pletcher in here. Tried the turf his first 2 starts, which he's out of a Union Rags mare. Does Pletcher not know Union Rags? No turfy. No turfy. It's like Utah. It's a no grass zone. Finally moves over to dirt at Churchill Downs, going a mile and an eighth, and dueled every step of the way with Rigel, who ended up pulling away late to win. But I thought that was a very much improved effort. So did Pletcher. They put him back on dirt again, sent him to Tampa Bay Downs, where he could get that maiden broken, and he did so easily. He only won by 3/4 of a length, but this was a case where if you watch the replay, He sat way off. It's only a 6-horse field. He was 3 lengths behind in 4th at one point. The leader was multiple lengths ahead. This horse Tireless made a 3-wide move in the far turn, caught the leader, and then got himself on the front. And once he was on the front, Joe Bravo did something. He was very, very confident to the point that he smacked the horse once to get him ahead and then just hand rode him the rest of the way. And I was like, if you'd lost that at 2-5, that might be the last time you ever rode for Todd Pletcher. He doesn't get the mount back here. We go to Gallardo, who's my favorite local jockey here, and is 1-for-2 riding for Pletcher in the last year. So I went with Tireless as my second choice here. The time form figures don't scream this is going to be a superstar horse, but he also fits well within this group.
He does. This was my third horse in here. Good pick, Magic. But this is the Pletcher that makes sense. This is the horse that could improve quite a bit. It's only going to be third time on dirt, and one of those times is going 1 1/8 miles over a Churchill Downs track, which is clearly it's a tough spot, right? That early in your career when it's 2000, when you're a 2-year-old going 1 1/8 miles, it's never easy. It ran well that day, ended up running second. Also interesting, this one sold for $875,000. So a lot of people like this horse a lot for it to get up to that type of price. The breeding says that the distance isn't going to be an issue. We saw that 1 1/8 miles race, that wasn't an issue. And you mentioned the Bravo ride. I think that has to be discussed. I mean, he was so confident this horse was going to win last time with less than an ideal trip. Like, not exactly like, hey, guess what? Just breezed on the front end, right? Like some of the Pletchers we've seen in the past there at Tampa Bay Downs. Tireless was 3 wide. Tireless just kind of rolled right on by. And then, Bravo almost looked like he was going to eat a sandwich on the way home. It was that confident to ride. So I like Tireless quite a bit here at 12-1, trying to take a step forward. That's about as deep as I could get, though. Like, I looked at the 7, I looked at the 6, I looked at the 11, I looked at the 10, and I'm like, I didn't like any of them. I didn't like any of them. I couldn't even figure out who I was going to put in 4th in this race.
I went with Agate Road 3rd, and this is I think probably the last horse that made my my whole ticket here. And he has the one race on dirt. It was an off-turf race at Saratoga, but he did come from 11 lengths off to miss by a nose. So clearly the closing kick that he's shown on turf, he can translate it to the dirt, even though that was against mostly turf horses. But if there's a pace meltdown, to me this is the horse that's going to be coming flying and winning. And you've got another case where Jose picks up a mount that Irad theoretically would have had if he was going to be here. Now, Agate Road, the story was from Pletcher, that Agate Road, they entered in the Kitten's Joy with the intention of scratching him so that they could run him here. When Pletcher knew Locked was coming, I think Pletcher already at that point knew Locked was going to be out. And they decided, well, Noted's better than Agate Road. Let's send Agate Road over there and see if he can do well on dirt. So there's a lot of question marks, and he's 7-2. And at that 7-2 price, I'm like, I shouldn't be using these top 2 choices. But if I can beat Nakatomi, I think that's going to knock a lot of tickets out of this sequence, and it'll still pay well, even if it's Agate Road that does it. And Pletcher's won this race. If you watch the Sam F. Davis trivia show with Jason Beam, beating Aaron Halterman, by the way, you would know Todd Pletcher's won this race more than any other trainer. So I'm going to go with the Todd Pletcher trainees in the Sam F. Davis Stakes, but I really don't want Agate Road to win. I really want it to be the 9 for multiple reasons, but just I got to use this as a saver.
Yeah, I get it. Actually, I don't. Don't use Agate Road. Don't do it, folks. Don't do it. Fine. If he win, if this is one of those horses where it's like, if they win, I'm okay with losing because the price is completely wrong for what's proven to us that this what this horse runs like. I would. If I, again, and now I'm kind of regretting not playing a 50-cent ticket here. But if I was playing a 50-cent ticket, the 11 Fulmino and the 12 Elysian Meadows to me are much more interesting at much bigger prices here. Both of them 15-1. The 11 I think is the horse that actually could pick up the pieces. Like you were talking about, who does that? I think 11's the one that could possibly do that. We saw this one it come out and win or just miss winning last time out at a little over a mile, but that was a crawling pace that this horse had to try and close into. Ended up getting caught right before the wire. In the 12 has a perfect record in New York. Both of them were sprints, yes, has showed pace, but actually passed horses in both of those as well. And last time, or both of the 2 horses that he beat last time out, and came back to win off those. Now they were state bred races. They're taking a step up in class. Its post sucks. I get all of that, but the price is right on both the 11 and the 12 if you're looking to try and blow this thing up.
Those are 2 horses I wanted to use here that if they were down,
they drew the 2 posts, the 3 posts.
Yeah. If the 1 doesn't show up here doesn't belong, and the 8 doesn't show up here doesn't belong. Like, if the 5 had just run last week like they originally intended, suddenly these horses are a lot more playable at post 8 and 9. But at 11, at 12, it's not. Even like I really considered the 12 off of your angle with, I forget the horse's name, but almost beat Rocket Cannon last year, got second for Bill Mott or a couple years ago. It was a New York bred that was just, it didn't really make sense to me why the horse was there. And you're like, Mott does this sometimes. I'll throw a New York bred. It's Tampa. It's not Gulfstream Park. Wanted to make so badly a case for the 12 here. Just because of that post, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. I'm not using it. But like,
Right.
I would much rather use them over the 6. I guess that's my thing, because I'm not a big Aggie Road fan. And I wasn't using that. Well, actually, I had Aggie Road on top. And stupid horse scratched out. And then Noted sucked. Like, what's going on here, Todd? Come on.
I think the fact that between Locked spiking that big fever and having to miss this race and Fierceness running like he did, the Todd Pletcher barn is in an absolute free fall. Like, if he wasn't still one of the most successful trainers going on right now, I'd actually feel bad for him.
Wow. Just completely writing off the winner of this race tireless. Unbelievable.
Well, one race I'm pretty positive Pletcher's not winning is the 5th and final leg of the late pick 5 at Tampa Bay Downs. It's race 11. We're going back to the grass here, and I say that because Pletcher doesn't have anybody entered. So if he won this, it'd be just super impressive for him. I got 12 older fillies and mares routing a mile at the N1X allowance level, and you, sir, have a single. Who is it?
I do. I'm not getting that creative here. Give me the brown. And I went back and forth on this horse. I didn't go back and forth on the horse. I went back and forth on the race of how many horses I was going to use. But royalty interest here, it just, look, she stands out. I tried to find ways to beat her, and I looked at the other horses I like, specifically the 6 and the 8, who were the other 2 that I was interested in. The 6 is mainly okay. We're going to try a horse that's trying the grass for the first time, that's bred to be able to handle it somewhat. And the 8, who's got, decent numbers up in New York and now coming into Tampa versus going down to going down to Gulfstream. I'm really reaching when I'm trying to come up with how this 3 loses. And that's the basic reason why I'm going to end up on royalty interest here. The horse ran well first time out, broke the maiden at Tampa, shipped up the Penn in a stakes race. Didn't run that great in that race, but now we're getting first time out as a 4-year-old horse is bred to run well on the turf. It's a Kalleward horse. Chaminad's riding here. Kind of wish it wasn't Chaminade, to be honest. I wish this was Jose Ortiz, who ended up on the 6 for James Toner. But we're gonna go with the Kalleward brown horse here in the last, who I think is clearly more talented than the rest. We'll see if we can take a step forward to get the job done.
I have her on top. I didn't single her, and I'll talk about it in a second, but I'm willing to kind of forgive her for that Penn Oaks failure, not just because she went from breaking her maiden at Tampa straight into a stakes race, where Malimu, my girl Malimu, won that race. Malimu had been very competitive at Gulfstream during the championship meet. So, it sucks that happened. We haven't seen her 253 days. I think it's very possible something minor went wrong with her in that race. And then when I read press go on her, she didn't have anything in the tank and just completely weakened out. I think that's why, as much as anything, why she was last beaten over 9 lengths in that spot. A very logical place for her to return. It's a track, it's a distance where she's won and been successful. And her trainer, we've already talked about it, super successful here as well. But you brought up the reason why I didn't single her. Jose Ortiz is not on this horse, and this should be where he goes, because Irad rode her 2 starts. Irad and Jose have the same agent. Jose's on the number 6 Apropos, and I'm going to use that horse as well. Jose is 0 for 4 in the last year riding for trainer Jimmy Toner, but this is a horse that it's 5 starts. She's never raced on turf. Yes, she's by a Mendelssohn, so theoretically, this should be where she does her best running. She's also out of a mineshaft mare, so the distance I don't think is going to be an issue, even though she's only gone a mile but at 1 turn previously. She did break her maiden at Gulfstream Park on the dirt pretty impressively in the slop. I'm hoping sometimes slop horses can do well on the turf. But this really just feels like a good place for Toner to try turf with her. It's not the championship meet at Gulfstream. It's Tampa. It's an allowance race. Other than the 3, nobody here is scary. So I understand why they're going to show up here with her. So I used the 6. Where do you have the 6 ranked? I guess I should say.
A second. I mean, this was the horse that I was looking at, and you missed one of the biggest things to me. I mean, the workouts, the last 4 are all on turf, which I think is really interesting for a horse that has never touched turf before. So clearly they thought there was something here. And then you look at how they've progressed. I mean, the last workout, 46 and change, going 4 furlongs over the turf. Now, interestingly enough, that was 11th of 57 that day. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say the turf was playing pretty fast, if that's 11th. But there were also 248 workouts back to back before that around the dogs. I think this horse is going to show some speed here. I think Jose is going to try and get out early with this one. And this is a race where there's not a ton of speed. So I think the 6 has a chance to go gate to wire here, and that was one of the main reasons I was looking at it. So apropos, I thought makes a bunch of sense here if you don't like the 3. But again, I don't really want to play 3 and 6 here on a $2 ticket when I'm using favorite, second favorite. I want to take a stand somewhere, and so for me, I took the stand with the 3. I thought the 8 was a little interesting. Like I said, coming down from New York, running in some races up there, ran pretty well in that spot. I think this may be a little too short. The last couple races all been a 1 3/8, 1 3/16, 1 1/4. Cutting back today to a mile flat, I think that might be an issue for the 8. Embrace Me. And the other one was the 1, Serious Light, and I believe you have a little interest in this one.
Yeah, this is my third trip. But I was looking back at the workouts I meant to do this before to look at who had the fastest work. It was 45.3 seconds, was not even the fastest time. Congruent for Chad Brown was second fastest. Safi had a horse go 45 flat.
Wow.
On the
you don't
turf.
See that. Like you never see that on the turf. That's like Baffert on the dirt doesn't even go 45 flat.
No, not unless it's going to be an absolute like super freak or something like that. But by the way, it was Mystic Lake was the name of that horse. It's a C2 horse that won at Tampa Bay in the Gasparilla Stakes last out. Also not on turf, but that's what they're going to try and do. Anyways, all right, number 1, Serious Light. This is my third choice here, 15-1, gate to wire threat. Simple as that. I think this is a horse that is coming out of a bunch of sprints where she was already forwardly placed, and then now her best 2 efforts since moving to this trainer, who is, by the way, winning 21% at Tampa in the last year, has won 3 of 7 mounts with Santino aboard. If the 3 doesn't win, if the 3 has something go wrong, which we don't want to happen, which it just isn't there, the 1 is sneaky because forwardly placed. I don't think the 4 Facciabella goes with her, even though she's kind of projected to do so. I don't think the 7 Tap It Up goes with her. I don't see anybody who goes with the 1 early down the stretch there, so that's why I used her.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I mentioned, the 6 and the speed. Like the speed in this race seems dangerous, and the 1 coming out of back-to-back 5 furlong sprints has every opportunity to be in front if that's the choice that you want to make here. It showed good speed at Saratoga, going 5.5 on the turf twice as well. So it makes a ton of sense if the distance is going to be there. Now, this is a horse by City of Light. He can get the distance. So you would think that that's not going to be an issue. We'll see how much Centeno can slow the pace down with the 1 here. This was my 4th horse that I would have used, but obviously singled, so didn't make the ticket.
And I did also, you had mentioned Embrace Me. I meant to go back to that. I did consider Embrace Me for all the reasons you said. I just don't know if she's good enough to get up. She's 1 for 11, has never hit the board and anything, and that 1 win came on an off-turf race. But this is the easiest place that she's been in a year, so also good for her. Let's talk real quick. I see a few people, including Doc and then Bedri, asking about the 4 Facciabella. I don't understand the love here, Mike. The horse has finished second 5 times in 19 starts, but only the 1 win. And the 3 starts at Tampa for Kerry Raven with Cedino aboard, they all were allowance races that were okay, but multiple length losses. I couldn't give you a reason why she lost, like a valid reason. Well, because of this trip, because of that. She's not inspiring to me. Do you understand get why they love the 4 here?
Nope, I did not consider the 4 at all. So, I mean, we had the barn switch, went back to the Kerry Raven barn, and didn't really see a jump up after what we saw from this horse in the, what I call it, early 3-year-old season with Kerry Raven as the trainer there. I mean, I'm trying to, yeah. I mean,
her 1 win was gate to wire, and we've just both have said the 1's going to the lead. The 4 is not fast enough to keep up with her.
Yeah, I mean, I would have wanted to see a little bit more in the 3 previous efforts. That, to me, is the big thing. And lost to someone else who's in this race, double Cosmo Girl as well, 2 back at the distance. Now, the one thing I will say, I think the mile is the right distance for this horse versus the mile and a 16th. So that, to me, is the one positive if you're looking at the 4. If you just specifically take the mile races, she is better than she is at any other distance, but not enough for me to jump on board here.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I for it ended well. Start was a little bit rough there. I was still thrown off from doing a solo show on Monday while Mike was trapped, as he says in Las Vegas.
You did a solo? Aaron, who couldn't step up?
Aaron had something going on. I did a solo. It's okay. Listen, I warned people ahead of time. I asked people in our Discord, which, by the way, join the Discord. But I asked people to, not you specifically, I know you won't, but I'm talking to the chat there. But it was a big chat interaction thing, so that was a lot of fun.
So question for you. Where does Fierceness go next?
The breeding shed? I mean, Florida Derby is where he's going to go.
So you don't think he's going Fountain of Youth?
No. I think they stick to the plan.
Yeah, I mean, the plan was obviously Florida Derby, Kentucky Derby off of that atrocious effort that we saw last weekend. You don't think First World War tries the Fountain of Youth?
Man. It's quick back in 4 weeks. He might.
Not that quick. It's not that quick. And I thought he looked really good on the turf last weekend.
He did. Yeah. I don't know.
Shotty
says to the farm. I think so too. What's that?
Who was your most impressive winner last weekend outside of Nisos, who can't run in the Kentucky Derby? Who was the most impressive horse that could run in the Kentucky Derby? Let's put it that way.
I thought that from a performance perspective, I thought Mystic Dan was the most impressive because he just, I know he got a good rail trip and he moved up in the slot, but like Hernandez, when he pressed go, that horse exploded. And I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah.
What about you?
He ran well. I thought it was Hades just because I'm biased to the Florida circuit. Like I'm biased to the Gulfstream circuit where I'm going to generally say those are the best horses because of where everyone else is running.
You were right last year.
He's a McPeak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Hades.
Last I heard, Hades. So here's what's kind of screwy is that from last week, Hades Orsino said out of the race they were going to wait for the Florida Derby because that was just his third start. He's like, I don't want to push him too fast, which is smart. And then Mystic Dan McPeak said we're going to wait for the Arkansas Derby. And so you had in our fantasy league, 2 teams claimed Hades and Mystic Dan. I'm like, that's great. They're boom or bust because you got to wait until the 100-point race when everybody's bringing their best shots for that to happen. Now, Mystic Dan, I think, can repeat if he gets another sloppy track, but I think he definitely needs the slop to move him up.
Yeah, he'll also have to be over 15-1 to have a chance to win.
Yeah, that's true.
It's McPeak, it's the rule. The one other pletcher that you didn't mention that now I think is a little more interesting is Speakeasy, who should probably be in the Fountain of Youth after what we saw from Fierceness and that debut on Pegasus Day. So I'll be interested to see where Speakeasy shows up as well. I'm not as big of a fan as I think a lot of people just because I have a little distance concern. So we'll see what happens there. But he seems like he has to be considered one of the top pletcher horses as well. I mean, obviously you still consider Fierceness one because you have seen what he can do on the racetrack. It's just that we've now got 2 duds and 2 phenomenal races, and you just don't know what to expect.
Well, I forgot. We got to give out our tickets one last time. The podcast listeners are going, guys, first you have 10 seconds of dead air, and then now you're not giving us the picks. Here they are. Here's our tickets down below. The people watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, take a look. For 50 cents, I'm going to go 346 with 78 with 359 with 269 with 136 for $81. Mr. Somich.
$2 ticket for me. I'm going 3-4 with 2-4 with 589 with 259 with $72 for $2.
Locked. Where do you think he shows? He might go depending on if the fever spike was actually just a small fever spike or not, which we don't know yet. Fountain of Youth could be for him. Doesn't set up well for him.
Maybe Tampa Bay Derby. Just skip forward. That.
Yeah.
We'll see. I guess it's really how many horses do you run in the Fountain of Youth if you're Pletcher? Because we've already named like 3 that he could possibly send there, right? And so I also don't think Locked is very good on dirt, but we'll see what happens.
Shadi, the veterinarian, was there with her own thermometer and said it was a small fever, so that's good. We're happy to hear that.
Good to know. Good to know. Thanks, Shadi.
Over at racingdudes.com, we've got previews for all of the big races happening this weekend, which might seem like a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but we have 2 Oaks Preps, the Suncoast Stakes, which is race 5 earlier on this card. Life Talk should win that, I think, walking backwards. And then also the Las Virgenes Stakes at Cienega Park, rescheduled from last week because of all the rain we've had. But you're going to have Copion versus Kimmets? I can't remember. There's a Baffert horse that's really good, and then Copion is who you see in the picture. I did the preview for the El Camino Real Derby, possibly the last time this race is run, at least at Golden Gate Fields. No longer a Derby prep, but it is still an automatic qualifier for the Preakness Stakes, so go check that out. And then, of course, Aaron Halterman's preview for the Sam F. Davis Stakes. You can also get all of the picks for the weekend from Blinkers Off. And then I know on Dudes Who Bet Sports, the guys talked all about the Super Bowl, but they also discussed their favorite memories about Toby Keith, who passed away very recently. So go check that out. I haven't had to listen to it yet, but I heard it was a very, very nice show. So do you have a favorite Toby Keith song? Were you ever into Toby Keith at all?
Not even a little bit.
I got to introduce you to Red Solo Cup. People who aren't country fans, you listen to Red Solo Cup and you go, yeah, okay, that's a good one.
All right, I can take that shot. I mean, because of the text messages that were sent in the dudes chat, my Toby Keith thoughts have forever been scarred.
Wait, what happened now?
It's not anything we can talk about on air. We'll talk about it after we go sign off.
We'll go check that out. Thanks. Red Solo Cup's a great one. I also a big personal fan of I'll Never Smoke Weed with Willie Again. I think that's also a classic. So, but it's weird. The two things that I liked from his music were about drinking and smoking. Huh.
On brand. What you talking about? Why is that weird?
Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 8. Make sure you catch him on VSiN this weekend. It's Super Bowl time. Do you have any free picks you want to give the folks before we sign off?
I like the Chiefs. Wait and see if you get +2.5, +3. I think the number's going to keep going up a little bit. I like the under. Wait and see if you can get 48 and play under 48. Highest scoring quarter, my favorite prop bet. +165, the second quarter. I think is going to be the highest scoring quarter. The Chiefs 18-2 to the under in the second half, 19-1 to the under so far this year in the fourth quarter. Both these teams should ratchet it up their second quarter. So I think that's going to be the highest scoring quarter. Also think Rashee Rice has a pretty big game here as well.
So Rob started the show off in the chat saying, first dropping the Taylor Swift reference, thank you. 49ers to score first, Chiefs to win is paying +350. That's a good, it's a fun little parlay. I like that one. Shotty going for the Gatorade.
The Taylor, there's 22 props. Get it? 22 props. Taylor Swift props up on DraftKings. And so that is one of them. The Taylor Swift appetizers for Taylor Swift Super Bowl parties, I actually think are pretty funny. I can't remember what they are now. Let me see if I can find them. But the puns that people came up with.
I'll talk for a second while you look it up, because I'm pretty sure my wife would also know that. And if she doesn't, I'll have to find it and send it to her. I know you also are big on the national anthem prop. I don't know who's singing the national anthem. Have you looked into that prop at all?
Reba McEntire singing the national anthem. We're currently sitting at 90 seconds, which would be the fastest national anthem in Super Bowl history. However, Reba has sung the national anthem 6 times prior at major sporting events, and she flies through this puppy. I think it's under 90 seconds.
Wow. Okay. I think country, and then when you say it would be the fastest ever, I'm like, oh, country plus fastest ever. It's got to go way over that.
No, she flies through it.
Doc speaking from experience.
Yeah. I can't find the good
post. That's a good point, Doc. She doesn't hold her notes like she used to. She's getting up there in age. I get that.
I believe she put up a 1 minute and 11 performance once. Reba McEntire national anthem history.
Doc, what do you blend Taylor Swift? Know your audience. Also, Queen of Pop. Shut up.
Yeah, so 78 seconds at the 1985 National Rodeo Final, 66 seconds in the 1985 World Series, and 83 seconds in the 1997 World Series.
And that's when she was young.
Yeah, that's fast.
What if she forgets the words because she's old?
You can bet whether or not she will forget a word. Right now, yes is +240, I think. That they have it every year for national anthem
I was
singers.
being mean, and that's mean.
No, they have it every year. There's a lot of singers that forget a word, or they don't know the actual words to the song, and they leave a word out, or they put a wrong word in there somewhere.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is why you got to watch Mike Somich on VSiN on the weekends. Make sure you get all of his coverage over there. All the Super Bowl talk. I'm sure the VSiN channel has tons of Super Bowl props and bets you can go check out as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Good luck this weekend. Have fun betting on the Super Bowl. Mike and I will be back We'll be back next week Thursday. There's nothing to talk about next week Monday. I'm sure Jared will still be gushing over the Chiefs win, so we'll just do more celebrating of that. So until next Thursday, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Go Chiefs!
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.